Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brandon, and welcome back to Marotta Media. Okay, so I'm going to start this video off on a somewhat somber note, even though I'm a little better now. So at the end of my last video, when I reviewed F9, I just mentioned that the Phoenix Suns made the NBA Finals, and I gave a shout out to them because that's my basketball team. Well, the finals are over now, and the Suns lost in 6, and it kind of sucks. But as much as I want to hate the Milwaukee Bucks for beating my team, I really can't because they're just a really hard team to dislike. I really like Giannis. He's a phenomenal basketball player, and he more than earned the ring and Finals MVP. So I can be a good sport about it, and congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks on winning the Finals. But believe me, the Suns will be back. But we're kind of going to stick on that same note because in today's review, I will be discussing basketball in a basketball movie, and that movie is Space Jam: A New Legacy. This movie is a sequel, or I guess kind of a sequel, to the original Space Jam from 1996. I say kind of because these movies aren't really connected in any way. It seems like it's just a follow-up or a capitalization on the Space Jam name. But anyway, the original Space Jam came out the year I was born, so that movie is as old as me. But it's a movie that I grew up with, and it holds a very special place in my heart. And looking back at it, I mean, are some people kind of blinded by nostalgia when it comes to the original Space Jam? Absolutely. But that being said, even though the movie isn't quite as good as I remember, because, I was just a kid, it's still one that I absolutely love. But you just knew that a sequel to that movie would come eventually. I guess they were just waiting for the right player to star in it. Because at the time, Michael Jordan was easily the best player in the NBA, and I think there's been rumors that Lebron James was going to star in one of these movies for a really long time. And it finally happened, and wow. That's all I've got to say. It's just wow. And based off my somewhat defeated wow, not a really enthusiastic Owen Wilson wow, that this movie wasn't very good. Because it wasn't. It was kind of terrible, if I can say that. So let's get right into this thing, shall we? Because I have a lot of thoughts here, and I will be going over all of them. So let's get into it. So let's start with this movie's star, LeBron James, the golden boy of the NBA, the man who can do absolutely no wrong. Now, let me get this out of the way. I'm not really a fan of LeBron's. I've kind of never liked the guy. I mean, I liked him when he was in Cleveland, and then I started to dislike him when he went to Miami. But then when he went back to Cleveland, I was like, okay, that's very noble of him to do that. Now he's with the Lakers, and I'm a Suns fan, so it's basically a requirement to hate the Lakers if you're a Suns fan, and boy do I hate the Lakers. But we still beat them in the first round of the playoffs this year, so, kiss my ass. But holy shit, man, LeBron can't act at all. I mean, unless he's faking an injury on the basketball court, otherwise he's great, but on the big screen? No, he can't act. Which kind of disappoints me, because a few years ago he was in a movie called Trainwreck that was directed by Judd Apatow. It had Amy Poehler and Bill Hader in it. And that movie wasn't great, but I remember thinking at the time, wow, LeBron really held his own in this movie. He did a pretty decent job. But in this movie, his acting is just laughable in parts. Especially with moments like this.
Dad, I think we're digitized. We're in the computer.
We're in the computer?
Dad.
You know I'm claustrophobic.
Dad,
How do we get out of here?
Dad.
Where's the elevators?
Dad.
Hey, Siri, can you let us out of here, please?
Siri?
But another problem I had with LeBron, more specifically his character, is that I didn't really understand his character or what his motivations were. Because he's really, really hard on his kids, and that's expected when it comes to competitive fathers like LeBron James, but in this case, it feels like they went a little bit too far. But the main focus in this movie is LeBron's younger son, Dom. And he's really hard on Dom because he constantly tells him, like, you're so good at basketball, I see potential in you, you have the ability to be great. But Dom is not interested in basketball at all. He's more into video games. And when I say he's into video games, like, this kid is into video games. I mean, he even built a video game himself. How he did that when his father clearly wants him to play basketball and not have any other distractions is beyond me. Like, who taught him that, and when did he have time to learn it? Because, I mean, he lives with his dad, so. But his motivation for pushing Dom as hard as he does is so stupid to me. Because this movie opens with a flashback of when LeBron was a kid, and his coach basically gives him the same pep talk that LeBron gave Dom. He tells him, like, you're the greatest player that I have ever coached, and I truly believe you have the potential to be the best player ever. And he's like, you need absolutely no distractions in your life. So he throws away LeBron's Game Boy, because LeBron was playing it before the game after his friend handed it to him. So is that the reason that he's so against Dom playing video games? Because his coach, as a kid, threw away his Game Boy? I guess. But their relationship really reaches a breaking point when LeBron takes Dom to Warner Brothers for a movie pitch of some kind. And Warner Brothers is at the heart of this entire thing, but believe me, I will get to that. But Steven Yeun and Sarah Silverman are pitching LeBron this movie idea where he can appear in all these other movies. I don't really remember. But then LeBron refuses because he thinks it's a really stupid idea because basketball players are not good actors.
I'm a ball player. You know, an athlete's acting, that never goes well.
Should have taken your own advice there, buddy. And that's another thing. Like, when has LeBron ever refused the spotlight? You're telling me LeBron James doesn't want to be the center of attention? Like, oh, wow, yeah, that's so accurate. We know LeBron isn't really full of himself like that. Oh no. Can you tell my feelings for this person by the way I'm talking about him? But somehow during this movie pitch meeting, Dom and LeBron have a fight and Dom runs away. And Dom says that very stereotypical line that we've seen in 1,000 other movies. He basically says, no, Dad, I'm not living my dream, I'm living your dream. And I think that was the first point of the movie where I facepalm, because that plot point is just so cliched at this point. And so Dom runs away from LeBron and he goes chasing after him, and they end up in the Warner Brothers server room. And there they are sucked into the server of Warner Brothers by the villain of this movie, Al G. Rhythm, played by Don Cheadle. And his name is just a play on of algorithm. Someone definitely thought they were being smart when they wrote that, didn't they? But Al G. Rhythm is upset with LeBron for rejecting his idea of him being in different movies, and so as revenge, he sucks them both into the serververse. And he tells LeBron, I'm taking your son with me, and the only way you can get him back is if we play a game of basketball. And that is where the Warner Brothers wank fest begins. But when Al G. Rhythm, you know what, fuck it, I'm not even gonna call him that because it's so stupid. I'm just gonna call him Don Cheadle. So Don Cheadle sucks them into the serververse, and we see all these other Warner Brothers properties. And he sends LeBron to Toon World, and he comes crashing down onto this planet, and really? Oh god, the product placement in this movie, it's just so shameless. But when he's there, he meets Bugs Bunny, who is the only one left, and Bugs explains that Don Cheadle told all the other Toons in Toon World that they were better off going to other worlds in the serververse, meaning that they're better off in different Warner Brothers properties. And so when LeBron and Bugs go to recruit all the other Looney Tunes to be on their basketball team in order to get Dom back, we are introduced to recycled footage from other Warner Brothers properties. And it's ridiculous. We see all the Looney Tunes characters in movies like Mad Max Fury Road, Casablanca, Austin Powers, and The Matrix. Oh, and then Rick and Morty show up at one point. Is that even a Warner Brothers property? Like, serious question, is it? I don't know. And at this point, I was thinking, like, what am I watching here? Am I watching a movie, or am I watching Warner Brothers just fucking kiss their own ass? Because that's what it seems like. But this movie is just a huge overabundance of references to all sorts of different things, and I will elaborate on that more in a bit. But something that I was thinking about when they were recruiting the team was, you have all these options to play basketball. Like, you have limitless opportunities in this serververse to recruit, like, the best of the best, and the Looney Tunes are the best of the best. However, the movie does acknowledge this, though, because LeBron is writing on this whiteboard. He's like, I want Superman, I want King Kong, I want the Iron Giant to be on this team. And Bugs mentions, like, to not get his hopes up when it comes to trying to recruit these characters, but I don't believe they ever actually ask them. So, like, why didn't they do it? I know the movie needs to move forward because it's Looney Tunes, they're supposed to be on the team, but still, like, it didn't make any sense. And that's one of my main issues with this story. It was LeBron who had something to lose, and LeBron is a phenomenal basketball player. I'm not gonna say that he isn't, despite my feelings towards the man, because he's incredible at basketball. So why is it that when his son's life is on the line, that the Looney Tunes are the best option? Because in the original Space Jam, it made a lot more sense. That guy, whose name slips my mind, wanted to make the Looney Tunes attractions in his park. Moron Mountain. That's what it was called, I remember that. So when he sends his little alien minions to go get the Looney Tunes for him, they look at them and think, hey, these guys are small, like, let's make a bet, we'll play basketball against you. But then the aliens steal the talent from some of the best NBA players at that time, Charles Barkley, Muggsy Bogues, Larry Johnson, Patrick Ewing, and Sean Bradley, and they become what we now know as the Monstars. And so what do the Looney Tunes do as a response? They recruit the guy who was the best of the best at the time, Michael Jordan. See, that makes more sense to me than this does. The Looney Tunes are like, oh crap, we need help from the best basketball player ever. But in this movie, it's what some people believe to be the best basketball player ever asking cartoon characters for help to save his son? It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, back to the new Space Jam. When they're done recruiting all of the Looney Tunes characters, that's when the game begins. Like, we're thrown right into it. And there's a good hour, over an hour left of runtime, and I'm like, really? This whole game is gonna last an hour? I don't think it lasted that long in the original. But then Don Cheadle imports a bunch of people to be in the crowd. He gets people from the real world as they're sucked into their phones. And he also gets a bunch of people dressed like Warner Brothers characters in the cheapest Spirit Halloween looking costumes that I have ever seen. And then when we actually get into the game itself, it's just a non-stop cringe fest. You know it's gonna be cringeworthy when the game just completely halts and Porky Pig starts rapping for some reason. I don't know why. I guess you gotta appeal to those millennials somehow. But anyway, let me get into some other aspects of the game here, and this next part I guess is kinda spoilery, but it's so predictable that I feel like it shouldn't be categorized as a spoiler, but just in case you don't want spoilers, then here's your warning, so skip to this part of the video. So toward the tail end of the game, LeBron and Dom have that touching father-son moment where LeBron realizes the potential in him and what he really loves to do, and they make up and hug on the court. And you could tell it's trying to have this deep message about the relationship between father and son, but it completely falls flat. And it falls flat because LeBron has just been an absolute asshole to his son up until this point. Hell, I think Don Cheadle was a better father to him than LeBron was in this whole runtime. I mean, yes, Don Cheadle's character is kind of insane because he wants to delete everything, basically, but I mean, he was still nicer to Dom than LeBron ever was. And earlier when I touched on the references, because Let me tell you, this movie has a lot of them. There are so many of them that it just becomes tiring and very annoying at some points. Whether the references be to other Warner Brothers movies, or memes, or famous moments in basketball history. But that's all this movie is. It's just one giant reference, it seems. There's no originality to it. But I feel that they missed a huge opportunity with the story here, because I think they could have done something really cool with it. And what that is weaving the story of this movie with LeBron's actual career. Because that's exactly what the original Space Jam did. It took real aspects of Michael Jordan's career and weaved them into a story around the movie. Because in that movie, it took place when Michael Jordan retired for the first time to play baseball, and as we all know, that didn't turn out very well. But even though he was playing baseball when the Looney Tunes asked him, they still thought he was the best basketball player alive, because he was. And so he agrees to help them, and then when they beat the Monstars, the entire experience inspires him to go back to basketball, which is what he actually did. And truthfully, I think that was a clever way of putting the story together, like making it around the actual events of MJ's career. And I think that they should have stayed along the same path with this movie. I was thinking maybe if it took place 5 or 6 years ago when LeBron was still in Miami, and after they lost to the Spurs in the finals when he chose to go back to Cleveland, maybe at the time the movie takes place, he's still with the Heat, and then the entire experience with the Looney Tunes needing his help makes him realize what's most important in life, so he goes back to Cleveland, and eventually wins them their first championship. But instead they chose to make it this very sappy father-son, you never let me live my dreams, Dad, kind of story. And that's just something we've seen a million times over, so make it original by making the events surround the events of LeBron's actual NBA career. But that's just my opinion. You guys could disagree with it. You could have thought that this movie was great, and that's perfectly okay, but I think that it could have been a lot better if they made it more realistic like that. Was there anything that I liked? I liked the idea of having all these Warner Brothers properties exist inside this server and people visiting them and the characters jumping from place to place. I thought that was a clever idea, but maybe if they did it in a way where they didn't come off like they were saying, look how great of a company we are, look at all these things we've made, then it probably could have been a lot better. I did also like the fact that the players on the Goon Squad, the opposing team, were modeled after actual NBA and WNBA players. Like Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, Anthony Streetclothes Davis, Nekwa Ogwumike, and Diana Taurasi. Although I will say that I do kind of have a problem with the way they portrayed Anthony Davis in this movie. It just came off as very unrealistic to me. And it was unrealistic because he didn't wince in pain or fall to the ground holding something as he landed. That's gonna piss some people off, I already know. And another thing I liked is the commentators for the game. They got Ernie Johnson from Inside the NBA on TNT and Lil Rel Howery to be the commentators for the game. And I love Ernie Johnson. I think he's great on Inside the NBA, and he does commentating for games sometimes, and he does a really good job. And Lil Rel Howery, I think, is hilarious. I loved him in Bad Trip earlier this year, and he was also funny as hell in Get Out. And the two of them had nice chemistry with one another. I really liked the bond they had, and it made me laugh a few times, actually. But other than that, no, there's nothing. There's really nothing worth mentioning about Space Jam: A New Legacy. This movie just, it's really bad. And I know what you are thinking, because a lot of people online have been criticizing people who don't like this movie. You're probably thinking, oh dude, it's a kid's movie. You're not supposed to look at it that logically. It's made for kids. It's not made for adults, so you're a loser for not liking it. I have actually seen that rationale from some people. So I'm here to say that any movie can be criticized, because I just criticized the hell out of this movie because it deserves it, because it's trash. That may be harsh, but I'm sorry, it's trash. Space Jam: A New Legacy is nothing but a giant 2-hour Warner Brothers commercial. It lacks anything coming close to originality, heart, charisma, fun, anything really. It takes anything that made the original one great or memorable and it just completely spits in its face. And it is for that reason that I am going to give Space Jam: A New Legacy a 3 out of 10. Alright, that's it. Well, I got all my thoughts out on the table. I know a lot of people seem to love this movie for some reason, but more power to you. If you liked it, then great. I wish I did, because I did not like this movie at all. So let me know what you guys thought about Space Jam: A New Legacy. Did you guys love it, or did you hate it? And do you think the original is kind of overrated and people just love it for nostalgic reasons? Let me know down below. I would love to know. If you guys like this video, then be sure to hit that thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. If you want to see my past reviews, then I will link those right over here. Other than that, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.